Hello, all. I hope that you are all doing well and enjoying your time in the class. I'm so glad that you guys are engaging the materials in such a robust manner. It's been really enjoyable to read and to review and to respond. We are in week 3, which means we're talking about naturalism. We'll be moving into week 4 this week. I'm so excited. We're going to be exploring modernism, which is one of my favorite time periods and also writing periods. Modernism is really exciting. In fact, many of the writers we still enjoy to this day are all modern writers. In Unit 4, which is where we are, you're going to be looking at poetry in particular. I know that poetry is not the best or the most exciting type of writing, but I think you'll really find that The Wasteland, Pounds in a Station of a Metro, and The River Merchant's Wife really do reflect this weird synergy from the modernist period. You'll go ahead and read the overview about The Wasteland, which should help you and get you a bit more comfy with it, as well as taking a look at the podcast, which is all about In the Station of a Metro. Once you review those materials, then of course you'll want to go into the discussion posting and complete your work. Many of you have reached out to me and let me know how you feel you're doing in the class. I urge you to keep on doing that and really to use this as a chance to explore and to get comfortable. Just to let you know, the midterm, which is in about 2 weeks, will be open, and there is a study guide here to help you. It's open book, open note, but you do need to use the ProctorU to get there. So make sure you've got it set up, and let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Now, there's a variety of different postings that we had this week about naturalism and, of course, African American literature that I would like to kind of hit on. First, I want to kind of just give some general overviews in that I'm getting a lot of tension with the use of MLA. For instance, like here with Wade, and Wade, you're not the only one that did this. The yellow wallpaper is the name of a short story. Traditionally, when we have a name of a short story, we use quotation marks to kind of indicate that it's a title. So you would gotta go ahead and put quotation marks around here. Also, you'd want to make sure that you go ahead, since it's a title and a proper noun, that you would capitalize Y and W for the yellow wallpaper. And I don't want to be nitpicky, but that's kind of really also part of the contributing factor to the grades too, is that you want to get that kind of under control, so that instead of looking at those little issues, we're really seeing the importance. The same thing with the open boat. I think that when we really talk about the reading and the interpretation, many of you guys have done some great work. Like LaShonda, nice reading of what Washington's Up from Slavery. I would like to see a bit more of the citations. For instance, anytime your reader sees a date like 1875, or they see a specific citation like he was very proud, you want to make sure that you go ahead and cite that. And when we parenthetically cite in MLA, we at the end of the section put a parentheses, we put the author's name, and then we put the page number if it's in a hard copy source, or you put the paragraph number if it is in an online source like here from Masterplots. Most of you were really engaged. Susanna, your reading of Charlotte Perkin Gilman's observations in the yellow wallpaper were very key. You mentioned that Gilman's kind of focus on anxiety and depression really fit her work, in the sense that she not intended to drive people crazy, but to save people from going crazy. And that was a great way to use evidence to base your reasoning. And ultimately, that's what we're doing in our writing, is really using evidence-based reasoning. We're kind of saying, hey, here's what I see happening in the work. Therefore, here's a piece of evidence that supports that. Brian, fantastic observation in connection to In Cold Blood. The idea that realism, or kind of this almost, I guess you'd say what Truman Capote was doing with his work, of course, was kind of this kind of real journalism that he was kind of focused on. But it definitely corresponds to the work that Gilman is doing. And so I appreciate that connection. Many of you have very short responses to your peer. Remember that a normal response to the reading should be anywhere from 2 to 5 paragraphs, and a normal response to your peer should be anywhere from 1 to 3 paragraphs. That response to your peer needs to have at least one observation from their work that you want to respond to, and I would also recommend having one suggestion for improvement and one question. And I think that'll make it very strong. Henrietta, I've had a couple students say that they couldn't download your attachments. So could you please just go ahead and cut and paste those into the body of the discussion board as well? If you want to attach them, that's fine too. But I've had some of the students say that they couldn't download it, and I want them to make sure that they get to see your observations. Delana, you did a great job of responding to Jeffrey. I absolutely love that. You really had a good question. You had a good quote. It was fantastic. Just an FYI, you don't need to put quotes in italics. In fact, you don't need to do that ever for any citation style, but in particular for MLA. So go ahead and just leave that in the standard non-italicized form. However, you do want to introduce it with maybe, the observation states that when it occurs to a man, so that you have that observation. In addition, it wasn't Baum who said this. It was instead another observation. So we want to make sure that we put the right author in. I see a lot of really engaged postings, like Lucy's Up From Slavery. The idea that bringing Booker T. Washington's observations into play. And then, of course, the connection that she made with Gilman's, kind of concerns with this woman. Make sure that you are, of course, adhering to those standards of citation with the quotation. Excellent posting by Patrick and, of course, Richard. I love that you mentioned here that I have an insatiable appetite for literature, and that I absolutely love them. I do. This is I guess you'd say, I really have embraced my inner geek. Her name is Gertie. I love literature. In fact, I love it so much that no one ever wants to help me move because I have too many books, because I also am a bit of a hoarder. So I appreciate that. And I'm glad that the podcasts are helping. I hope that these little recordings help too, for you to kind of get a chance to see what you need to do as well as how you need to do it. I try to respond to the writings, in order to get you some more solid information. But I also try to do this kind of conversation so that you can become more comfortable. And I do think that you guys have done so much work and rich work. Can you imagine? It's only been 3 weeks since you started, and look at what you're already doing. For instance, like Scott's posting. Really thinking about the difference between Up From Slavery and Du Bois, and kind of doing this really good analytic move about thinking this realization that Washington plans is generational. It's lifetimes. It's instead of where Du Bois is like saying it needs to happen now. And isn't this a debate that we're having in our contemporary culture? And so that is such a key element to this, is thinking that literature and your appreciation of literature isn't just about one time period, but instead it's about understanding how time has evolved and how thoughts have continued to develop. It's a great snapshot. One of my favorite writers or critics, Martha Nussbaum, says that to really be intelligent and to be really kind of comfortable in your education, that you need to have 3 traits. One, that you need to be a citizen of the world and understand that it's larger than just your nation. 2, that you need to have the ability to analyze and to question, to always think and to ask why. And 3rd is to have a narrative imagination, to be able to encounter different stories, different perspectives, and different moments of empathy, and to really use your imagination to get that. And I see you guys doing this in your work right now, and I appreciate it so much. I look forward to seeing the work that you do with modernism and poetry. Have some fun with it. Watch the podcast on metaphor. Hopefully, it will help you. And keep me posted. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I'm always happy to help. Thanks so much, and you have a great day.